Hello, and welcome to Bear Necessities. My name is Bear, and today we are going to be going into priests. So, real quick before we start diving into each class, I do want to say that, just as a disclaimer, I'm not an expert on every priest or every class in general. These are just my opinions based on my experiences. Also, I'm trying to limit my commentary up to level 50, as that's likely where we'll start on Varsoon. We haven't heard anything otherwise, but I may comment on potential future value that the class may bring. I'll also try to speak of the classes more generally, and probably stay out of like a meta type conversation, because the meta changes over time, classes change over time, and I want just some general information for people who are trying to select a priest or a tank or whatever classes I go over in the future. So let's talk a little bit about priests before we dive into each one. Also, something that you're going to see a little different than my last series is I'm going to break this up into a few different videos instead of one long video. I'm going to talk generally what do all priests get, and then I'll talk a little bit about clerics, which is one of the archetypes, Druids and Shamans. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. So we have Clerics, which is Templar and Inquisitor. We have Druids, which is Warden and Fury. You can ignore Channeler, it's not going to be on the TLE until much later. And then Shamans, we have Mystic and Defiler. And each subtype, so the Clerics, Druids, and Shamans, have a different general healing style. So we'll go more into those different styles. Then we'll talk up, kind of some of the same things like we do with the tank. We'll say like, okay, what's the group buffs? What are some of their namesake skills that each one gets? And what are their general strengths? All right. But before we dive into subtypes, I have created a Fury here, and I want to just talk about some of the general things that all priests have. So here we are, we're on the Clerics server, just because it's easy to create a character, have a bunch of skills, and be able to kind of show some of them off. But what does every priest have generally? There's going to be slight variations, and I'll talk about some of the slight variations that each of these abilities has. But generally, all healers, all priests will have these abilities. So the first thing is water breathing. So every priest will get some sort of water breathing, single target, and also group. So as you can see, single target, enduring breath, group, ferocity of the eel. You'll see that this one gives fish vision and water breath. So like I said, every group water breathing will have some sort of different properties based on class. Next, every healer gets reses. So every healer gets revive, which is just an out of combat, really kind of crappy res. And then you'll get some in combat reses like Primeval Awakenings, level 50. It has some special attributes whenever you res, like gives you int, gives you disruption, subjugation. This one's just an in combat res, I believe. Yeah. And then you have a group res as well. So every single healer gets resurrection spells. There's different attributes on them, but you get reses. Every single healer gets resurrection items. So what is that? So like whenever I cast Favor of the Phoenix, I'll get in my bags, I'll get this feather here, which is essentially an out of combat res that see, it says cannot be cast during combat. So essentially what it is you cast this, your group gets this. If you wipe, say you have a monk in group or someone who can feign death, or maybe you kill everything but the priest dies, well then someone in your party can use this item and res you. And every priest gets that. And then every priest gets flat heals. And what's a flat heal? So you get 3 abilities, and there are some different properties per healer on these, but you're going to get a single target small heal, a single target larger heal, and then you're going to get a group flat heal as well. And so these are essentially just, hey, it heals for X amount. These buttons look the same on every single class, healer class, but there, like I said, there are different properties per class. So sometimes flat heals will have modifiers on them. Furies, it doesn't, so I used Fury as a good example. It's literally just flat healing. All right, moving on. A DI, or a death save. DI comes from EverQuest 1. It just means divine intervention, but essentially all it is it's a buff that you put on someone. So you see this lasts for 20 seconds, and if that person dies within those 20 seconds, then they get essentially immediately revived, healed, and then they'll have some sort of modifiers on these. But every single healer gets this. It only works on group friends, so you can't use it cross group in a raid or anything. But every single healer gets, or priest gets, a DI spell or a death save. All right, moving on from there. Every healer gets a cure spell. So cures are essentially whenever you get some sort of detrimental effect on you. Let's see if I can actually make this happen. Probably not. But if, say for example, I'm being attacked by something, and then it puts like a dot on me or something. Don't know if we're gonna be able to get that to happen on these really early mobs here. But if you get a detrimental ability on you, like a dot or something, you can use the cure spell to cure that detrimental effect off of you. So maybe you get stunned, rooted. Well, stunned you may have to break out of, but say you get rooted or just get a dot or a debuff on you, you can use the cure spell and it'll cure that off of you. Now, the reason I kind of wanted to try to get someone to put one on me is because whenever you get one of those detrimental spells on you, it will put like a little square near your name down here it'll be like a trauma or a noxious or a elemental, so whatever the type of debuff it is, it'll put it on you, and you can actually just tap it and it'll automatically use this cure spell, your single target cure. You can do that for group members as well. It used to be you had to have like a modified UI for that, for click to cure, but I think it's in the default one now. So cure, every healer gets cure. You can see that there's some AA text that Furies get, but most of the time it's just cures hostile effects, and eventually later on, it's like in mid 40s I believe, in classic you get a group cure as well. All right, moving on from curing, a few more things that all healers get is one is a de-aggro spell. So Brambles is the Fury one. You can see that it decreases threat priority by one position, and threat priority is, think of threat to mobs as a list, and if you're the highest person on that list, then you have aggro. So if you use this ability, it's going to drop you by 1, which means that they'll no longer be hitting you. It also decreases threat, so that may even drop you further. And then the other modifiers like combat mitt, slows and area effects, stifles, those are different per class, but the general decreased threat priority and threat is consistent across all healers. So every healer gets the de-aggro spell. And then finally, every healer gets what's called emergency heals. These are going to be pretty different per class, so I may at least take a look at them. But you can see that these have a 15-minute recast, so pretty long recast, and that's what I'm sure this character has a lot of reuse. I'm not positive if reuse can be affected on these, but I believe so. So anywhere to 15 to 30 minutes, you have these emergency skills that are instant cast. So like you press them and they immediately go off, and they do some sort of healing, warding, etc. Every healer gets them. Every priest gets emergencies, but they are different per class. So for Furies, it gives a heal and a heal over time. All right, I think that is it when it comes to all of the similarities between healers. To kind of go over them again, we got water breathing, we got reses, we got res items, we got flat heals, we got death saves or DIs, cures, de-aggros, and emergencies. So for the other classes, I won't go into a ton of detail on those. I may talk a little bit about the differences, but that's kind of all the things that all priests have. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching this video. I'm gonna have even more videos come out right after this. I'll link to them in the description, and we'll be going into Clerics, we'll be going into Druids, and we'll be going into Shamans, and we'll go into the details of each of the classes and also talk about some of the similarities between each subclass and go from there. All right, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please leave a comment, like on this video, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bells if you want to be notified when more videos are uploaded. All right, until next time.